Dodson.
Start by acknowledging the Minister and thanking him for his comments in praise of the Select Committee and its consideration of this issue. The only puzzle that I had, Mr Speaker, was what triggered the referral of such an item to a Select Committee rather than the Minister being able to sign it off directly, and it's an issue that the Select Committee is yet to receive advice on. It's not a criticism of it, it's just an interesting difference in process. I also want to acknowledge the Minister and congratulate him because I understand that earlier this week he was the recipient of a very distinguished award which acknowledged his support of philanthropy in New Zealand. And I think that that is a matter of all pride. We will share in your glowing from that award, but I do think it was well deserved. The other recipients are very highly regarded people. Peter Dunn joins that list now, and I want to congratulate him for it. Mr Speaker, as the Minister said in his introductory comments, this reclassification of ketamine is not directly comparable to the way that other drugs have been considered by this House, because this is a drug that is legally used but not for recreational purposes. It is a drug that is used by vets, but it has become over recent times more prevalent as a recreational drug in New Zealand, having had this habit imported from Asia particularly. It's very commonly used as a recreational drug in Asia, particularly in Hong Kong. It has some serious consequences, although much of its use causes not as serious health effects, but enough to have a person admitted to hospital and treated, but not permanent or long-lasting or significant health impacts. Nevertheless, the Health Committee looked at this and decided that this was an appropriate step to take. Some of the more concerning aspects that we were made aware of is the fact that the person who uses this drug as a recreational drug actually has a feeling of disassociation with the objects and people and activities around them, which can be quite dangerous. They are literally not aware of their connection with activities that are going on around them, and obviously that can put them in a very vulnerable or dangerous situation rather than the drug itself causing some physical effects. Mr Speaker, the other consideration that the Health Select Committee went through in its process of looking at this recommendation was receiving advice from the Expert Advisory Committee on Drugs and understanding how that process had then led it to the conclusion that it did, that this ketamine needs reclassification. The proposed classification as a Class C4 controlled drug would allow the police and other enforcement agencies greater powers, and it would also increase deterrent penalties. Conviction obviously would also involve importation unless it's for the purpose which it is originally intended, and that is, as I mentioned earlier, for use by a vet. It also considers manufacture, the supply to a person up to 16, sale of or offering to supply a person over the age of 16, which would incur a maximum penalty of up to 8 years imprisonment. So this isn't being considered as a light measure. Further penalties include up to 7 years imprisonment for conspiracy to commit such an offence, and up to 3 months imprisonment or a fine of $500 or both for possession and breach of Section 7 of the Act. Mr Speaker, this is a rare moment, I think, in this Parliament, perhaps not seen before in the life of this particular Parliament, this particular term, where the Minister who's from the United Party is moving a resolution, Labour is supporting it, I'm sure will be followed by National supporting it, and I think that also both the Green Party and ACT Party are going to support it, and if the member representing the Māori Party takes a call in this debate and supports it, there would be a breakout of agreement, and perhaps we might consider raising the House early at that point, because it happens so rarely. That has been moved by Hone Harawira and seconded by Peter Dunn. Back to the more serious issue, Mr Speaker, we know that a lot of people put pressure on members of parliament to have drugs classified in different ways, and it was certainly the view of the Select Committee that this shouldn't be a response that just happened as a knee-jerk reaction after a single event. This has been well considered by people who have expertise in this area. The Health Select Committee took very serious note of the considerations that they had taken into account when proposing this recommendation, and on that basis Labor is pleased to support it.
Dr. Paul Hutchison.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this notice